Hi, good morning everyone. Nice to see you all. So we will start with peptide therapy, very fascinating topic that we will go deep inside and learn more how you develop biomimetic peptides. So, peptide therapy is a subject that many doctors and experts speak about, but they don't really know the mechanism of action. They don't speak about it, and some of them say, well, peptides don't really work, and some of them say it works, but don't get into details how and why do they work. But I think that you, as skin experts and doctors, should know how do they work, why do they work, what is the mechanism in order to give your client the perfect match, and also in order to explain your customers what is happening. So maybe some of you heard about the peptide matrix seal. Yeah, this was the first peptide that came out in 2005. There was a big scientific paper that was published, and then everybody went in lines outside the stores wanting to buy these peptides, the products with matrix seal. So matrix seal was developed by Procter & Gamble, and they had a paper that you can see here. This is the publication from 2005. Topical palmitoyl pentapeptide. Topical is, topical. Palmitoyl, it's linked to palmitic acid. Pentapeptide. What is penta? Penta is 5. Pentapeptide is 5 amino acid. If it was tetrapeptide, 4 amino acid. Tripeptide, 3 amino acid. Okay, dipeptide, 2 amino acids. So pentapeptide provides improvement in photo-edge human facial skin. So they had an experiment. They took like 35 women between the ages, the 30s to the 50s, and gave them a cream with this palmitoyl pentapeptide that they called by the commercial name matrix seal. And they really saw improvement in characteristics of the skin. Like this woman is from the placebo group. Placebo is cream with no ingredient. And this is a woman from the trial group. Of course, they didn't know. It's double blind. They didn't know. So this is after 3 months, and this is after 3 months with the no ingredients. This is the placebo. And this is from the real experiment. So following this trial and this success, many companies afterwards understood this mechanism of action and start developing other peptides. And since 2005, we have many other peptides, like dozens of peptides for some purposes. We will speak about it. But this was the beginning, but not really the beginning. So the really beginning was back in 1992, sorry. So the Procter & Gamble came out with 5 amino acid peptide, but they didn't really invented this sequence, those peptides. In 1992, a group of researchers from a university were interested in wound healing. Wound healing, when we want to make good wound healing, the skin have to produce collagen. And actually, the matrix seal induces collagen. You understood it, right? So those researchers, back then, they wanted to speed up the wound healing. So they took rats and make some scratches in the rats and gave them ointment, to put topical ointment, and see if the ointment will speed up and help the wound healing. And they found that this exact sequence of 5 peptides, okay, really accelerated and helped the wound healing. This is how it really began. So Procter & Gamble took the same sequence of peptides and put it for cosmetics, okay? But they didn't really invent this sequence. So what is the idea? Now I'm explaining how does it work. What is the idea behind biomimetic peptides? Why does it work? So biomimetic peptides can mimic a certain biological process, can mimic or can induce a certain biological process that is occurring naturally in the skin or in the body. So let's see, for example, how does matrixyl work. So this is a fibroblast. And the fibroblasts make little fibrils of collagen. This is not collagen, but this is a little part of the collagen. So when it goes out the cell, one enzyme cuts the edge, all right? Okay, but this fragment is a fragment of 40 amino acids. And this fragment can go and influence the fibroblast. It can bind a receptor and tell the fibroblast, make more collagen. So this is how it goes in the body. And the researchers back then, many years ago, knew this process, that when we produced collagen, we have this little peptide, 40 amino acid, that goes back and tell the fibroblast, make more and more collagen. So in the 90s, the researchers that want to treat the wounds, to speed up the wound healing, told themselves, maybe if we can make in the lab this sequence of 40 amino acids and apply topically in the wounds, maybe we get results. So they wanted to induce collagen production by applying a cream with a peptide that inside our body tells the cells, the fibroblasts, make more collagen. This was the idea. The problem is that 40 amino acid cannot penetrate the skin. That's big. And even 30 cannot enter the skin, and if it's 20 amino acid cannot enter the skin, even 10 amino acid, it's too big. So the challenge was to find the shortest sequence of amino acid that works like the big amino acid, the big peptide. By the way, peptides, you know, your doctors, until 50 peptides, it's a peptide. Protein is thousands of hundreds of amino acids. The biomimetic peptides are very short in order to penetrate the skin, so from 2 to 6 maybe amino acids. So how do we make a little sequence of amino acid that is effective enough? Yeah, so it is simply trial and error. You take many sequences, short one, bigger ones, many sequences of these 40 amino acid peptides. You cut many sequences, and you take Petri dishes with fibroblasts, and in every Petri dish you put another sequence. If you can see here, those are sequences of amino acid. This is a long one, and a long one, and short ones. Those are fragments of peptides. And this is how much collagen we get. So this is, for example, a good amount of collagen. This is good amount of collagen. This is a small amount of collagen. So the purpose is to find the smallest sequence, but that gives us enough collagen production. So this is, for example, long ones that gives us much collagen, enough collagen, but they are too long to penetrate the skin. This is very short, but not enough collagen. But if you look on this, KTTKS, those are amino acids. So KTTKS, 5 amino acid, gives us enough collagen to be a candidate for a product. So this won the competition. This was the best one. And after they get results from this peptide, they published an article, this article in 1992, that says that pentapeptide from type 1 procollagen promotes extracellular matrix production. In other words, we took a peptide, which has a small fragment of collagen, and we put it topically, and we get collagen production. So as you see, the logic is to understand biological pathways, signaling pathways in the skin, and to try to mimic those pathways in order to get collagen, hyaluronic acid, to get relaxation processes, to get what we want, but from the outside. This is the logic of biomimetic peptides. So today we know a lot of biologic processes and a lot of signaling pathways in the skin. And as we know them, we can intervene from the outside. We can find a small sequence that is like the big sequence inside the skin, that is naturally occurring inside the skin, and make in the lab a small sequence that works alike, and make out of it biomimetic peptides, and put it into a cream, and achieve intervention in the behavior of the skin. Okay, so today we have many kinds of peptides, not many peptides, but some kinds of peptides. For example, we have firming peptides or anti-aging peptides. We have melanin suppressors that are peptides. We have anti-acne peptides, antioxidants, anti-inflammatory peptides. For example, antibacterial peptides, for example, they work in two ways. One way is to, the peptide actually kills the bacteria. And also, it can make the other cells of the immune system attack the bacteria. So this peptide mimic a certain peptide, is a natural peptide inside the skin. And when we apply this biomimetic peptide, we give reinforcement to the skin to act against the bacteria. Yes, so if we go back to anti-aging peptides, because we are now this is more interesting for us. So for example, if you go to anti-aging peptides, if we look at this, this is a piece of this is a drawing of piece of the skin. This is fibroblast, and this is type 1 or 3 collagen, which is very tough collagen. This firms the skin. We have 4 kinds of collagen in the skin. We have 35 collagens in the body, but in the skin we have mainly 4 collagens. Type 1 and 3 are the strong collagens. Type 4 collagen is in the basement membrane. This is the basement membrane. And type 7, the blue, is collagen type 7, which is also very hard and gives integrity to the skin. So there are peptides that induce 1 or 3 type collagens. And there are peptides that induce collagen type 7 or collagen type 4. There are many firming collagens of many kinds, and each one of them mimics another pathway in the skin. Yeah, some peptides also induce fibronectin and integrins. Those are very important proteins that keep the integrity of the epidermis and the dermis. Okay, so let's look at the peptides that are in Biofor products. Those are the peptides that we use in Skin Active, in Light Cream, in Firming, in ProLift, in Ageless. So if you want to know them a little bit better, let's get to know each peptide in the products and see how it works. So this is the product, the peptides inside, and the activity. So for example, in Skin Active, also in Active Light, that's the same formula. It's not the same texture, but the same formula. So they have 2 peptides inside, palmitoyl tripeptide 5. By the way, every peptide have commercial name and chemical name. So in the ingredients list, the brand can write either the chemical name or the commercial name. So for example, palmitoyl tripeptide, the commercial name is Syncol. This is a trade name, trademark. Okay, Syncol. In the green, I wrote the commercial names. By the way, if we read the chemical name, we can know better the peptides. For example, palmitoyl tripeptide is tripeptide is 3 amino acids. It's a peptide with 3 amino acids. Palmitoyl because it's linked to palmitic acid, right? Okay, So those two peptides work synergistically very well. One of them is boosting collagen type 1 and 3, so it's firming the skin. And one of them induces collagen type 4 and 7, which is in the basement membrane, those two peptides. So it's very good synergy for keeping the integrity and firmness of the skin. So this is skin active and active light. Let's get to know light cream. Light cream is actually moisturizing cream with 3 melanin inhibitors. 2 of them are peptides. The third is not peptide, but 2 of them are peptides. Okay, so the 2 peptides are beta white. It's a commercial name, beta white and melanostatin. So how do melanin inhibitors, peptides, how do they work? So let's look at beta white. What is the mechanism of beta white? So when we are exposed to the sun, there is the pathway of alpha MSH. Alpha MSH binds to a receptor, and when it binds to a receptor, there is signaling process with many molecules that influence the tyrosinase. One of the molecules that influence the tyrosinase and get it to work is called MITF. This MITF is signaling and causing the tyrosinase to produce many melanin. Okay, now there is another receptor in the melanocyte, that the receptor for TGF-beta. When the body secretes TGF-beta, the process stops. The process of melanin production stops. So the scientists that produced the beta white, actually they want to mimic its biomimicry. Yeah, biomimetic peptides, it's biomimicry. They wanted to mimic TGF-beta and to apply it from the outside of the skin in order to bind to this receptor and stop or to lower the melanin production. So beta white mimics the TGF-beta. Yeah. So this is the mechanism of beta white. We have another peptide. So maybe as doctors, you know the terms agonist and antagonist. So agonist molecule or agonist peptide binds to the receptor and activates the receptors. Okay, induce all the sequence of that the receptor is responsible for. An antagonist molecule or antagonist peptides, it binds the receptor but blocks the receptor, and the process is not occurring. So melanostatin peptides is actually antagonist peptides. So it can bind the receptors of alpha MSH. Alpha MSH actually in the body induce melanin production. All right? But melanostatin is similar enough to the alpha MSH. It looks like alpha MSH, but it's not really alpha MSH. So when it binds the receptors, it blocks the receptor. It since it's inside the receptor, but does not activate. Yeah. So this is the second peptide. And by the way, I said we have 3 melanin inhibitors in light cream. The third one is not a peptide. It's a herb product. This is the herb. Okay, this is the plant. But if we're speaking about light cream, let's see this compound is interfering with the tyrosinase activity. It blocks the tyrosinase activity. By the way, I wrote competitive inhibition. You know the term competitive inhibition of the receptor. Competitive, it means there is always a competition between alpha MSH and between the melanostatin that your client applied from the outside of the skin. So every given time, sometimes alpha MSH wins and binds the receptors, and sometimes melanostatin wins the competition and binds to the receptors. This is competitive inhibition. Okay, so we know a little bit better our light cream and firming. Let's speak about firming. Firming is the eye cream. So firming contains three peptides, three kinds of biomimetic peptide. Tripeptide 10, cerulean, that's the name, and the commercial name is decoryl. And the other one, palmitoyl tripeptide 1 and tetrapeptide 7. So, for example, what does decoryl do? So we have a natural protein inside our skin, which is called decorin. Decorin is a protein that is responsible for the structure and the order of the collagen fibers. This is its duty in his life, to arrange the collagen fibrils correctly. There is a big importance for the arrangement of the fibrils of collagen, and with age, we have damage to this decorin protein. Yes, so when we apply it from the outside of the skin, it's like we apply this decorin fiber, and so we get more ordered and firmer skin. Yes, and it's also affecting the elasticity of the skin. Yes, and the other two peptides, they simply induce more collagen production. So this is firming eye cream, and when we're speaking about ProLift serum, the peptides inside are matrixyl, the first peptide that was developed, and another peptide that induces type 1 and 3 collagen. And we have ageless ampule that contains two biomimetic peptides, firming peptides. The first is hexapeptide 48HCl, that's the name. And the other one is palmitoyl tripeptide 5. The first mimics one molecule in our skin that minimizes stress-induced collagen breakdown. And the other one induces collagen production. Okay, so let's speak a little bit about the peptide's strengths. When do we have to expect results? Let's speak about the therapeutic window of peptides and uses in the clinic. Okay, so first about the strength of peptides, or how fast they work. So we should remember that peptides are good, but they are not as strong as, for example, retinoids or hydroxy acids. Yes, but in the other hand, they are very convenient for us. They are not irritating. They are not limiting us with sun exposure, so we get this, so we can go even to the beach and still get anti-aging. And they are not irritating, I say that, right? So of course they don't replace the exfoliants, but they are added to exfoliants. Our clients will get the exfoliants, the retinoids, the acids, and also the peptide. And they are especially suited for the very sensitive areas, for example, to the under eye areas. Now, we know that when our client gets like retinol cream or hydroxy acid cream, they can see results even in the first week or the first 2 weeks. In the peptides, it won't happen. We should not expect results within the first or second or third week. But usually the results, we can expect them to see them in like 2-3 months and on. And it's 3 months of daily use, not like once in a week or once in 2 weeks, but a daily cream. Most of the time, it's 2 times a day. So now let's speak a little bit about the therapeutic windows. I assume as doctors, you know what is therapeutic window of ingredients. Maybe I'll remind a little reminder. So when I say, for example, that certain vitamin have therapeutic windows of like from 3% to let's say 7%. This is the window. So if I give my client like 2%, will I have results? I won't. If I will give 3%, I will start to get results from this certain vitamin. And with 4 and 5 and 6%, I will get results, maybe even better and better and better results, up to 7%. But if I will give my client 10% of this component, I won't get better results. because this is the window of effectivity. So this is one kind of therapeutic window. We have the therapeutic window of, like, for example, hydroxy acid. With hydroxy acid, the more you give, the more you get. It's like, it looks like this. The more you give, the more you get. With peptides, it's very special. The therapeutic window of peptides says that there is the optimal dose, like from, for example, in this peptide, for example, this is for matrixyl, for example. So the optimal dose for matrixyl is 3%. If you will give 3%, you will get the maximum activity. If you give 2.5, it's okay. Even 1.5, it's okay. But if you will give more than 3%, you will start to lose activity. And even if you give more and more, it's no activity. Yes, actually, we learned from the peptide medicine. You know, before we had biomimetic peptides for cosmetics, we had medications with peptides. So it's not a new idea. We had it in medicine. And the researchers and the doctors noticed that when they give more of the optimal concentration of the medicine peptides, they actually get the opposite from what they want. So with biomimetic peptides, it's not the more the better. It's not like with the hydroxy acids. Yeah, it should be the correct concentration, which was found in the trials, of course. And so this is for the therapeutic windows. So when we ask ourselves, are biomimetic peptides useful in the clinic, while the protocol we do in the clinic? What do you think? What do you think? Would you use in the clinic biomimetic peptides? So I should remind you all that one application of a biomimetic peptides will not help. We need continuous use, daily use, and in 2 or 3 months you will start to notice results. Yes, so instead of wasting money and buying peptides for the clinic, which is expensive, give your client a product with peptides, and she will use it at home every day. That's the same concentration and same peptides. Let's proceed to speaking a little bit about personalized cosmetics. So personalized cosmetics is a trend, is a very strong trend. If you should ask, for example, even ChatGPT, tell me what is the strongest trend in the cosmetics, it will name maybe 3, and one of the 3 is personalized cosmetics. Yeah. So first, you know, as skin practitioners and doctors that treat the skin, we know that we always we always have been personalized because, you know, it's not a shelf product. We sell products after we diagnose the skin and analyze the skin and adapt the product to the skin and even adapt the protocol to the skin. Like with the same product, each client gets another protocol of using. So it has always been personalized. Yes, but Biofor took it to the next level, and we allow you to take even the moisturizing cream, which before it was only moisturizing cream, and intervene in the cream and make it a treatment, not only treatment, but personalized treatment. So in fact, you can take any moisturizing cream, even if it's not Biofor cream, any 50 ml cream, even gel, and put certain ingredients according to the skin needs. We analyze the skin needs, the skin condition, and the client itself. Many sun exposure, is in stress, and some important data. And we know what the skin needs, and we can intervene in the cream and put some components and adapt the cream to the client. Okay, and each ampule contains different, I would say, raw materials. It's not, you know, there is a big difference between those ampules and other ampules. Many labels, they have ampules, but you know, ampule is a package. You could put anything in the ampule. You could put even water. You could put like olive oil in the ampule. But this is not a product. It's a raw material. For example, this is ageless. And in ageless, we have two biomimetic peptides. Each one of them is 100% concentration. It's a raw material, the same raw material that goes to the factory that makes the cream. So you cannot open the ampule and apply it directly on the skin. Yes, you know, many brands have ampules that you break and put directly on the skin. So the ampule is actually a product. It could be as well in serum or in cream. Yes, those are not products. Those are raw material that help you to make your moisturizing cream into a treatment. Okay, so let's get to know the ampules, and later let's use it. Let's make a moisturizing cream. So those are the ampules: ageless, defense, soft, moist, and fresh. And you have also a little booklet that you got. In the booklet, you have the composition of each ampule and when and how you can use for which conditions. So we will go through it relatively quickly. So ageless ampules contains two biomimetic peptides. We said it earlier. Those peptides, and this is a rejuvenating ampule. This is a rejuvenating component. So what kind of clients do we want to give ageless? So of course we will give it by age, like from the late 30s, like 38, and so. Yeah, when we start to see the later signs of aging, like the skin thinning and a little bit sagging, when the skin is not so firm, we won't give ageless to a 30 years client, for example. But maybe if this client is 30 years old but is a very hard heavy smoker or spends a lot of time at the beach, so maybe we should give it. So we have to analyze all the important details, not only to look at the skin, but to know the client better. Okay, defense ampules contains antioxidants, which are listed here. Vitamin C, vitamin E. Dunaliella is the name of alga, orange alga. And the C. bacterin is also, that is a herb, very strong antioxidant herb. So that's the ampule, and you give it, who needs antioxidants? So we can give them by age, because over the age, we are less and less protected from free radicals. And also if the client is stressed or the skin is in stress condition and there is an inflammation in the skin, for example, or maybe it's undergoing a series of invasive treatment in your clinic. Maybe it's exposed to the sun. With sun exposure, many free radicals are spread in the skin. So those are occasions when you will want to give defense ampules. Okay. Soft ampule, the third one. So it contains lithosporum, chiconin. Chiconin is a word in Ukraine. You know chiconin? Yes. It's a Japanese herb, actually. Also squalene and vitamin E. And the main activity is rehabilitation and recovery of skin, of untreated skin, like dry and untreated skin. It can soften and soothe the skin. Moist will raise the humidity of the skin. It's very good for dehydrated skin. It not only moisturizes the skin, it also it will fix the skin barrier, the epidermal barrier, and help the skin to prevent water loss. Yeah, it actually intervenes in the skin behavior. It teaches the skin to act better in the protection, to protect the skin from evaporation of water. Yeah, and fresh ampule, the last one, contains a calming and astringent ingredients like mint, azulen. Azulen, you say azulen in Ukraine? Yeah, and bisabolol. Yeah, and it gives very fresh and cooling and calming effect on the skin. So it's good for inflammation and, for example, acne, inflamed acne, or all kinds of inflammation, rashes, redness, hyperemia, rosacea, all the red situations. So how do we do it? It's very nice and simple. This is ampoule light cream. We design it like the looks of the series is, this is the cream and those are the ampoules. And we designed it especially for it to be very photogenic and Instagramming when you want to market those products. But keep in mind, you can use any moisturizing cream. You can use Enrich. You have Enrich in your package. Yeah, this looks better, especially if you put like 3 ampoules inside and take a photograph, like your client makes a picture for the Instagram and tag you in the Instagram. It looks very nice. Okay. So again, you can use the ampoules with everything, but make sure this is a 50 ml because there is a calculation. If you will use, each ampoule is 2 ml. So 2 ml of the ampoule into 50 ml of the cream or gel, any kind of product of 50 ml, will give you the exact concentration to get the activity, because we're speaking about activity. It's not only Instagram and pictures and nice product. First, you should use only 50 ml, but we say 3 ampoules because for 2 reasons. One, if you will add many ampoules, it will go out of the jar, and also it will affect the texture of the cream. Okay? Also, there is a little rule in chemistry that the more components you a little bit use activity. So you don't want to put more than 3, in order for every one of them to be noticed and to affect the skin.
Can we use ampoule in a mask?
In a mask?
Calming your mask, we can use with...
If you, it depends on the mask, because with calming mask, Biofor, no, don't mix them. It won't be mixed, actually. Calming is very thick. It's very thick. But you can make in your cleaning a cooling mask. You will take, for example, 50 ml aloe vera in a jar. And in this 50 ml, you can pour the ampoule, fresh ampoule. So you will have a cooling gel. And if you want to add, antioxidant or other kind of, according to your purpose, So you can make a mask if you want. So before you intervene in the cream, before you put the ampoule, you have the shelf life of the product, which is a maximum 3 years. When you get it, it's maybe 2 years, right? Now, when you put the ampoules, technically, it's not shortening the shelf life. But if you want to get the maximum activity, give it like 7-8 months for using. Like make the cream for the client, and the client should use it in like 8 months from the preparation in order to get the maximum activity, because you don't want it not to be thrown to the garbage, but you want it to work in the maximum, okay? You want your client to use the product immediately. We do it, it's very, very simple. We have a little breaker. You don't really need it. You can, take a little tissue and break the ampoule, but it's more convenient to use this breaker. You put it like this. Okay? You have to mix it well, it's not so convenient in a serum. So we broke the ampoule, we take the cream. We can pour it into the cream, and also we can take a little pipette. and put it in the cream. Okay, and mix it. We have sterile. Okay, so take the spatula and mix it. Okay? Now I suggest not to put all the three and then mix. But take the first one, mix it well, take the second one. And the other one till you get a nice texture. If it's a regular moisturizing cream or a serum, that's okay. But you definitely have to know what ingredients are in this serum or in this cream, because enriched cream, it's a normal cream, you know. Skin active cream, for example, have two peptides. So you don't want to take, for example, Skin Active and put peptides that are similar to the peptides inside Skin Active. You don't want to make more of the same. If the serum or the moisturizer is active enough and do what you want to do with the client's skin, you don't need the ampules. You only want to give some benefit that you don't have in the cream. Yeah, I'm finishing. But by the way, I have to emphasize, in Biofor, we have different peptides in the different creams. So if you put, for example, ProLift and Skin Active, it's not the same peptides. Right? So now we reached to a very interesting topic, hyperpigmentation. Actually, I want to start. I know you have questions about some cases of your clients, your patients, but we will be starting with dermal hyperpigmentation. Very interesting topic that not everybody speaks about. We usually speak about regular pigmentation in the epidermis, sorry. Which is most of the cases. Most of the cases are epidermal pigmentation. But there is sometimes dermal pigmentation or mixed pigmentation. Mixed pigmentation is some of the pigmentation is in the epidermis, but below we have also pigment in the dermis. And this is a less known topic, which we will start to understand it more deeply now. Okay, so let's have a quick reminder. The melanocytes live in the lowermost, actually they reside in the layer of the basal cells in the epidermis, and they secrete melanosome out. These dots are not melanin pigment. So there is melanin pigment, but these dots are actually melanosome. It's little vacuoles. Inside of them, we have melanin, many melanin granules, many melanin pigments. Okay, so we have generally two kinds of pigmentation: the functional and the anatomic pigmentation. Functional pigmentation, which is the most of the cases that we treat in the clinic, are from the functional group, which the reason for the pigmentation is some melanocytes secrete more melanin than needed, right? And in those areas, you will, by the look from the outside, you will see spots in those areas. So this is, for example, hormonal pigmentation and from sun exposure and PIH, you know, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Those are this kind of pigmentation. In the anatomic group of pigmentations, we can see another problem. The problem is it's not excess production of melanin, right? It's some melanocytes start to divide, to proliferate, and proliferate more and more and more. And when you look from the outside, you can see spots that are the results of hyperproliferation of melanocytes. So for example, in this group, we can see the age spots. Age spots are not over melanin production, but they are proliferation of melanocytes. So the age spots, which are lentigo, solar lentigo or senile lentigo, or you see all kinds of moles, seborrheic keratosis, birthmarks. All of those are hyperproliferation of melanocytes. But both kinds are epidermal. This is still not dermal pigmentation. This is epidermal pigmentation. So the pigmentation is born in the epidermis and stays in the epidermis when everything is okay. The pigmentation stays in the epidermis. Okay. What happens when the pigmentation leaks to the dermis? When the pigments, the melanosome, leaks to the dermis? Why is it happening? So let's look a little bit deeper at the journey of the melanosome. So melanosomes were secreted from melanocytes. Those are melanosomes, those brown dots. Now, in the living cells of the epidermis, we have channels. Those are channels, and the melanosomes should pass the channels inside the living cells. Because remember, melanin should always be inside the living cells, protecting the nucleus of the cells from the UV rays. So if we look a little bit closer, this is the channel. Okay, those are melanosomes. The channel actually is not always open. The natural shape of the channel is actually closed. But we have here a receptor. We don't see it in the picture, but we have a receptor. And when the melanosome meets the receptor, the channel opens and allows the melanosome to come inside. So when the cells are viable, good functioning, they have flexible and good membranes, all the melanosomes come inside. Sometimes this is not the case. Sometimes the melanosome come to this channel, but the receptors does not recognize that there is melanosome. So it cannot come inside. And what happens then? It can travel here and there and then leak into the bottom layer, the basal membrane. So the basal membrane is actually a thick membrane. It's not a thin membrane like outside the cells. And the basal membrane have 3 layers. This is the layer that is most close to the cells. And here you can see many times accumulation of pigment of melanosomes that over the years did not enter the cells and flip down to and accumulate in the basal membrane, and they can stay many, many years in this part without being seen from the outside. This is still not the dermal pigmentation. So if it's a small amount or moderate amount of melanosome that stay here in the basal membrane, nobody from the outside could look at this patient, this person, and see the pigmentation. But from a certain amount of accumulation of melanosome, yes, people can see it from the outside. It happens a lot with older people, and over the years, there is accumulation of melanosome down there, and you can see patients with, like fade pigmentation, not like spots, but like the skin is dirty. Like some areas are more dark from other areas. And this can stem from this kind of pigmentation, which is still not dermal pigmentation. Yeah, I want to understand, maybe I will go further. Here, all the melanosomes are inside cells. When you see pigmentation, it's over pigmentation, but the pigment is inside cells. And the cells go up and up and up and up, and we can remove them by peeling and also by melanin suppressors. Yes, but here, the pigmentation is not inside cells. So our peeling cannot reach this level because our peeling is in the outermost epidermis, in the cornea. Also, if we would be giving melanin inhibitors, this would not fix this kind of pigmentation because melanin inhibitor, it treats the future spots. It treats the spots that is not born yet. It treats the rate of making melanin, but this is a fact. This is melanin that was already produced. So melanin inhibitor would not help us with this kind of pigmentation. Now, sometimes the integrity of the basal membrane is impaired, like when we have inflammation and scratch and bruises and cuts. So this pigment can leak into the dermis. And when they leak into the dermis, this starts to be dermal pigmentation. Yeah. Also, let's get to know better the basement membrane, because the basement membrane have a critical role in the dermal pigmentation formation. So the basement membrane, it looks very static, but it's not static at all. It's full of life. Oxygen and nutrients and hormones and vitamin, immune cells go from the dermis to the epidermis through the membrane. And in the other side, CO2 and waste go from the epidermis to the dermis. There are many channels and pores and systems that control the passage in and out. And also many proteins and including collagen that keep the integrity of this membrane, because this membrane is very, very important to the structure and the function and the strength of the skin. So the living cells are strongly connected to the basal membrane, and the basal membrane is strongly connected via proteins, mainly collagen, to the dermis. There is a strong connection. Now the melanocytes live in this layer. You cannot see melanocytes in this picture, but every 5 to 10 cells, we have a melanocyte, which is not connected to the membrane. The melanocytes are not connected to the membrane. They are connected to the neighbors. So keeping this basal membrane, keeping it intact and viable and strong, is a very, very important purpose of us skin practitioners. In order to keep the good functioning of the skin, and also to prevent leakage of melanin to the dermis. Also remember, one of the things that give strength to the basal membrane is the papillary dermis. In the papillary dermis, this is not a correct picture, actually. You don't see, these are many kinds of cells, but actually here in the papillary area, there is a lot of collagen, a lot of cross-linked collagen that when it is dense, it gives strength also to the basement membrane, okay, from the inside. All of the factors and the events that damage collagen can damage the basement membrane, because we have collagen in the basement membrane, and also we have a collagen below the basement membrane. So everything that compromises the collagen, if it is sun exposure, smoking, what else, free radicals and stress, all of the even steroids, by the way, topical steroids, they damage collagen. So for whatever reason the collagen is damaged, we can compromise this basement membrane, and it will not function well, and we can see leakage of melanosome with pigment inside the dermis. So we want a good and dense collagen in our skin, in the papillary dermis, and in the basement membrane. This is one way of prevention. But we also want a very healthy and viable epidermis. Why? Because in viable, healthy epidermis, all the melanosomes go inside the cells. and don't fall down to the basement membrane. And another thing, when the epidermis is viable and healthy, we have very dense structure of the epidermis. So the cells are very dense, and when they go up and up, they take the melanosomes up, and they don't leak down. Okay, this is a very complicated photo. It's a biopsy. I don't know if you can recognize the papilla, but these are accumulates of melanin. They are not inside cells, but in the basement membrane. So what can damage the basement membrane? What can compromise the membrane and enable the melanosome to leak inside the dermis? Yeah, so first it's mechanical damage, like cuts and bruises and scratch and I don't know, even laser treatments, inflammation, traumas to the skin. Okay, but sometimes it's very slow and persistent process of sun exposure. It's unprotected sun exposure. So when our skin is exposed to the sun, there is a rise in the expression of MMP enzymes. Maybe you know MMP, matrix metalloprotease, you know it? Matrix metalloprotease is a family of enzymes that cuts elements in the dermis, cuts collagen, cuts elastin, they can cut hyaluronic acid and some other some proteins. And the MMP, matrix metalloproteases, are induced when we are exposed to stress, to smoking, to sun exposure. So when we are exposed to the sun, the skin produces many copies of MMP, the cutters, and they cut mainly collagen in the skin. And when we cut collagen, so it damages the dermis and the basement membrane. Yeah. So sometimes it's sun-induced dermal pigmentation. And sometimes this comes from hormonal reasons, like prolonged use of pills. So those hormonal changes can compromise the structure of the basement membrane and also influence the melanocytes and activate the melanocytes and even change the shape of the melanocytes. Okay, so the melanin can go inside the dermis. When does it stay in the dermis? So most of the melanosome, when they get to the dermis, they are swallowed by macrophage. The macrophage see the melanosome. It doesn't recognize it because it doesn't belong in the dermis. So it will swallow the melanosome. And after it is swallowed, this is called melanosomes. So most of the melanosomes are in melanophage. By the way, a little bit of the melanosome are hiding behind the collagen fibrils. So how do we recognize? And how? Let's start with how do we recognize dermal pigmentation. So it's shade and borders. So the epidermal pigmentation tends to be in brown shades of brown, while the dermal pigmentation tends to be in like a dark gray or purple or blue. And another thing, borders. So epidermal pigmentation tends to be with very noticeable borders, while the borders are blurred, not so. Okay. Actually, most of the time, you won't see only dermal pigmentation. You will see either epidermal pigmentation or mixed pigmentation. Mixed pigmentation, it's like two floors, floor 1 and floor 2. And in the floor 2, you see the epidermal pigmentation, and below, you can see some dermal pigmentation. So you can see, when you look from the outside, you can see when you have mixed pigmentation. So the dark pigmentation of the dermis is reflected from the inside, and you can see dark brown in those areas because it was light brown, and the pigmentation from beneath is reflected. So you can see in those spots like dark brown. Okay, so let's look at some of the events that occur inside the skin when we have dermal pigmentation. So first, if we would take like biopsies from the dermal pigmentation and look at them under the microscope, for example, if we take a dermal melasma, we would see many holes and vacuoles in the membrane, and we almost always see damage to the basement membrane. And we also see melanocytes that are not sitting well in the basement membrane, but they go a little bit deeper to the dermis. They're not really in the dermis, but they go a little bit deeper into the dermis. And also when it is with the sun damage, so we see many MMP enzymes around that break the basement membrane, break the papillary dermis. We see a lot of MMP from, we have like 23 kinds of MMP. Each one of them specializes in different collagen or different protein. So we see a lot of MMP that break the basement membrane and break the papillary dermis. This is when we take biopsies from dermal pigmentation with sun damage. Okay, now there is another phenomena, they call it pendulous melanocytes. You know what's pendulous? Yeah, let's look at it, right? Pendulous, it's like they're hanging. Let's look at it. This is a pendulous melanocytes. I will explain it. Normally, the melanocytes stays like this. Those are the dendrites. But when there's a damage from the sun or from hormonal changes, sometimes the melanocytes can move. Sometimes it can move to here, and this dendrite can go here. So those secrete melanin to the epidermis, but this will secrete melanin to the dermis. Okay? And sometimes the melanocytes will flip and go to this position. So the melanin will go inside the dermis. Yeah, they did some experiment. They took like tissues, no, not real people. We can grow tissue outside, you know. It's called ex vivo. We can grow tissues. And they radiated the tissue with UVA. With 20 joules, the melanocytes get a little bit inside, or flipped inside, but it stayed connected to the basement membrane. But with 60 joule, all of the melanocytes, some of them, got inside the dermis. So it's a function of how much were you exposed to UVA. So if you think a little bit about those conditions, if we give melanin suppressor to a patient when the melanocytes are a little bit like this or like this, we can still get some influence because it's connected to the epidermis. But if we give a melanin suppressor and the melanocytes is down there, we cannot reach it, okay? We can see many times in hormonal pigmentation, we can see these kinds of melanocytes. So now think about it, each of them which have a IPL device in the clinic, why it's not very healthy to give IPL in melasma, because the melanocytes are already not stable. They can easily go this way and go this way in melasma. So many cases, when you gave IPL treatment to melasma, to hormonal melasma, you saw that it's not working, and sometimes it's even worse. Okay, so let's go back. So those are pendulous melanocytes. Fibroblast activity. So fibroblasts, first they secrete MMP. The MMP is actually, they were born inside the fibroblast and were secreted out from the fibroblast. But not only this, when there's an inflammation, the fibroblasts secrete many, let's call it melanogenic molecules, which are molecules that influence the melanocytes to produce many melanin. Now think about it. Let's look at this. Those are fibroblasts. When they secrete melanogenic molecules, they affect the melanocytes from down there. From the inside, they affect the melanocytes. And they cause the melanocytes to secrete big amount of melanin, but not only this, the melanocytes can also like divide to 2 and 3 when they are not supposed to, but they are dividing, they are hanging around, not stable. Anybody heard the term senescent cells or senescent fibroblasts? This is a hot topic. Senescent cells, like aging cells. Not aging, they call it zombie cells. This is a hot topic. They explore it actually all over the body. When we age, we can find zombie cells. Zombie cell, it's not alive, but it's not really dead because it's inside. Usually dead cells should do apoptosis. They should commit a suicide and not stay here. But zombie cell is not committing suicide, so it stays like a zombie fibroblast, stays in the skin, and it's not contributing to anything. It's not producing collagen, it's not producing hyaluronic acid, not producing anything, but is doing harm. It secretes many cytokines that harm the skin and many free radicals that harm the skin. This is zombie fibroblasts. And they are also responsible for dermal pigmentation. So let's say fibroblasts. Also, when we have inflammation, we have many pathways of secreting immune molecules. I won't get into details because it's many names, but all of the storm of cytokines also induce inflammation, and we can see a rise of free radicals in this environment, and many collagen breakdown. Also, when we are exposed to the sun and also with the hormonal reasons, there is angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is like many new and thin blood vessels that are formed like a carpet of blood vessels, like a net of blood vessels inside. We usually, when we took like biopsies from the areas of melasma, we can find this angiogenesis. And we know today that angiogenesis actually promote and enable more melanin formation. So it's not only mechanically that when you have blood vessels and on top of it you have melanin, so the melanin is more visible. It's not only this. From the blood vessels, there is secretion of certain molecules like VEGF, if you know, vascular endothelial growth factor, some molecules that promote melanin melanogenesis. You can see it nicely in this picture that underneath the brown area, you can see more blood vessels. This is a machine that can concentrate in blood vessels. You can see in the lips many blood, in the hair you see no blood. So this is a special light device that you can see, for example, you can see below the eye, the red area, and you can see it like some more pigmentation. And for example, in this area, you can see not many blood vessels, and actually in this area, you can see no pigmentation. And you can clearly see underneath the pigmentation more angiogenesis. Okay, so if you go back to now, to here, this was angiogenesis, and the last thing is solar elastosis. It is caused by excessive sun exposure. So whenever you see solar elastosis, this can cause also dermal pigmentation because solar elastosis damages the basement membrane, right? And so the melanosome can leak down. Okay, so when we're trying to think what should we do with the patient with dermal pigmentation, actually this should be a very complicated and diverse treatment because it's many, many events. It's not only one event. It's many things. So what can we do to fix the basement membrane? So, for example, microneedling or fractional RF or any device or treatment that can reach to this basal membrane and like positively destroyed. It's not destroying, yes, it's damage afterwards we will fix it. The skin will fix it. So, for example, those technologies like those treatments like microneedling, it destroys the basal membrane and also the papillary dermis that is below. And when we destroy this collagen, the skin must create new and strong and ordered collagen to support the basal membrane. Yeah, also those pendulous melanocytes, we spoke about the melanocytes that flip and go. So in some cases, melanin inhibitors would help. Some of them it would not help, but we don't know really the state of the melanocytes. So we give, and we hope it's not too late. Fibroblast activity. So we spoke about it earlier. So retinoids, for example, they control the fibroblast activity. They get it into order. And also it's very useful to give anti-inflammatories. Anti-inflammatories, you know, why did the fibroblast went nuts? Why is it acting like crazy? Because of the inflammation. So if we will slow down the inflammation and control the inflammation, the fibroblast will behave properly. And we spoke about immune cells activity and inflammation, so any anti-inflammatories will help. And we spoke about angiogenesis. So when we have angiogenesis, actually phototherapy IPL treatment is very useful. Not only the wavelength of pigmentation, we have wavelength for blood vessels. So if we do it, if you have an IPL device, it's very useful also. But not in hormonal melasma, as I said before. Don't do it in hormonal melasma. Vasoconstrictor ingredients. For example, fresh ampule. If you go to the ampules, we have vasoconstriction with the mint in the azulan. Also anti-inflammatories and also firming ingredients to strengthen the blood vessels. The blood vessels are coated with collagen. This is the structure of blood vessels. So whenever we give firming ingredients, we get firmer blood vessels. And last, solar elastosis. We can give, there's no many solutions for solar elastosis. We can slow down, we can get a little bit of improvement, but we can give retinol, lasers if you have, and pills that affect the skin. And of course, sun protection is a very good prevention. I wanted to present a study that deals with microneedling for dermal melasma. Okay, so that's we have some solutions here. So we will deal only with this solution for the damage to the basement membrane. So this is one of the many studies that were conducted on dermal pigmentation. This was with dermal melasma. That they took 6 women. It's a small study, but we have here nice pictures, so I took this study. And it was a persistent melasma, like at least 5 years of very persistent melasma. Those women got many treatments, including Kligman formula. You know what's Kligman? The triple combination. So they got 2 treatments, 2 sessions of microneedling. In the first one, and after 30 days, the other one. The needle was 1.5 millimeter. Okay, they proceed with the. It's not it didn't replace the Kligman. They continued with the Kligman formula, but with hydroquinone and retinol. But they added to the treatment 2 sessions of microneedling. Okay. Yeah, so they took biopsy before the treatments, and then another biopsy 15 days after the second treatment. Also, they used many devices like melanometer that measures melanin, and another device that measures angiogenesis, and they took other photos. There were many, many measurements. Now, all of them showed improvement in the melanin that was seen by the eye and that we saw in the biopsies, and the thickening of the epidermis and the dermis, and reduction of blood vessels also. And even after 6 months, there was no regression. So let's look at two of the women that participate. This is one, and this is the second woman. So we can see a decrease in the melanin content. Also, you can see that the epidermis is thicker. Here you can see thickening of the collagen fiber in the upper dermis. So this is the papillary dermis. There is a staining for collagen. You know, you can stain for whatever like protein you want to see better. There is a special staining with color. This is color, it's not real, the real color. So this was with the staining for collagen. So you can see that here in the papillary collagen, we can see more dense collagen than before. And that's the last biopsy. When can see, actually, you can see all of the things. You can see that the microneedling repairs damage to the membrane. You can see it all. You can see also that the dermis the epidermis looks better and thicker. Okay, so why does microneedling help us with dermal pigmentation? So first, it fixes the damage to the basement membrane and also to the papillary dermis collagen. So it also affects all the melanosome that fell down to the basement membrane and stuck down. So we come with the microneedling and damage all of this area, and the skin makes new but correct cells and correct basement membrane and correct collagen, more dense collagen. Also, when the basement membrane is intact, is not damaged, so all the, let's call it melanogenic stimulus, all the signaling from the inside, from the fibroblast, does not reach the melanocytes because this border is intact. And also, a thickened and healthy epidermis can protect us from the sun. That's what I wrote there, but it's not the only thing. When the epidermis is dense and thick, so melanosomes don't leak down to the dermis, and also they come inside the cells and don't go out. I wanted to give you a brief tip to how to enhance the melanin inhibition and how to enhance the exfoliation, which is different things. This will be quick. Sometimes we want to emphasize in the treatment, we want more melanin inhibition than ever, like when we have hormonal storm, or every cause that cause the melanocytes to produce much melanin. So we can give double melanin inhibition, like we give exfoliant, like Renew. And then we can give azelaic acid product, like Azocare or Azalite Plus. And on top of it, skin tone. So this protocol will emphasize the melanin inhibition. Yeah, or another option will be Renew Plus. On top of it, Azalite Plus or Azocare, and on top of it, skin tone. This is a very big emphasis on melanin inhibition. So you have really several options. Also the third one, when you want to enhance the peeling, sometimes you want deeper exfoliation. So in those cases, you can give double doses of the exfoliating product. For example, double dose of Bright. Now, double dose is not every day to apply 2 times the Bright product, but you can do it like 3 times a week. So 3 times a week, the patient should apply Bright twice, and the other days, he will apply Bright regularly, one time. And this will deepen the peeling. It will give you deeper peeling. Okay, or double peel, like apply the double peel 3 times a week, applied twice. And this is doubling the exfoliation and also doubling the melanin inhibition. And of course, at the clinic, you can add azopil. It's a professional pill for the clinic. So you add 1 or 2 layers of azopil into the regular peeling with biopil glycolic or biopil lactic. Or stop the exfoliator 4 days before the peeling instead of a week before the peeling. Or do a little microneedling with the 0.5 needle a week before the peeling. This is also. Okay. So thank you everyone. It was nice meeting you. I wish you lots of luck. You're very curious and intelligent, and I love these kinds of students that ask questions and go deep. And you can feel free to, to join us. May I introduce the Biofor Global Training? We have a group, a professional group on Facebook, Biofor Global Training, and it's global. And you can ask questions and upload the cases, and we will refer and assist you. Of course, you can also consult the professional team of Elena. But you can also reach us and share with us things. We will be happy. That's a global group. And it's quite nice to, to join many cosmeticians or doctors around the world and see. And so see you in our booth in Cosmoprof in Bologna.